Hi everybody! I wanted to show you my deck garden, and I have spent some time here. Potting plants at my table was something that I knew I could do while I recover from back surgery. And let me show you what's going on over here. A lot of things still need to fill in and flush out, but I thought I'd give you a deck update. I wanted to mention that I have a lemon tree here grown from seed. My sister and her partner raised this for a long time, and I got all excited because it had flowers. And I thought maybe I would get some lemons. That was about a month ago, but I think that the torrential rain may have knocked off all of the blossoms. So no lemons for me this year. But I did notice that there is a little purslane down here which planted itself. And then I just cut back my nepeta or catmint. And of course my topiaries along here are looking very nice. They have appreciated our weather patterns. And I have some new little cuttings down here of the quick fire hydrangeas, which took really well. So I'm excited that those are doing so well, and I have to find a place for them in the garden in the fall when I'm planting things again. Let's go over here and take a look at my little baby geraniums. Can't resist planting geraniums from seed. They do grow really well and quickly, and these I will probably put in pots and keep under grow lights over the winter. So I have a whole bunch of white geraniums. In the other cells, I just yesterday tucked in some collard greens, which I don't particularly like, but I like to have things to put into the fall and winter garden that are especially good for the soil, and collard green leaves are wonderful additions to soil up in my raised beds. So I'm going to be looking out for those to sprout. But let me take you over here. I have a pot of ginger, and this is just organic ginger from the grocery store. And I just chose organic because I knew it wouldn't be sprayed by a root inhibitor. And let me take you over here. I have a little shade situation set up over here. I took some cuttings of some Dusty Miller, and this contraption here with the towel is just to shade it when the afternoon sun comes, because these don't have their roots yet. Once I feel like they've rooted, I will move them into a sunnier location. And I do have a tiny little wimpy looking begonia, but this begonia makes me happy because there was a huge begonia in early spring that was run over at the garden center, and I picked up a little piece of it that didn't look smashed, and I just popped it into some soil, and look, it grew. Isn't it sweet? So that makes me happy. And I have some nepeta cuttings or catmint. And I took some cuttings of my zinnias, and they're not looking so well. So we'll see if they root. If they don't root, it's certainly no loss. And let's come over here. Now, this is something I normally wouldn't do. After my surgery, I was dying to get outside, and I had a tray of coleus seedlings, very thickly planted. And I just broke up the whole tray of them into about 5 pieces and planted them in pots. So this is much thicker than I normally would have planted it. I don't know how many seedlings are in here, but look guys, it certainly is a lot. But I have to say, I don't mind how small they are. I think they make really nice potted plants, even planted so intensively like this. Now, these are my black dragon coleus grown from seed. They're my pride and joy. And as you can see, they're spaced out more appropriately, so they might have a chance of getting taller and larger. And I think they're starting to look nice. They're gaining some size. But I have to say, you know, sometimes when you have limitations, you're forced to try new things. And I don't think this, I think the plants are doing well, and they will probably remain smaller, but maybe that's good for my deck plants. Here's 2 more that I did. And actually, they're gaining some more size too. So maybe coleus don't mind being crowded. And, you know, this could have been a good experiment. These are some cuttings of coleus that I overwintered inside. They had rooted in water all winter long. And it did take them a while to take a foothold and look like beautiful new plants. Oh, I see I'm getting some flowers, and I want to remove those because sometimes when a plant puts up flowers and makes seed, it thinks it's done and it won't perform well. So I'll be removing the flowers. But at the end of the season, I will let them flower because I think that these are actually from seed that I collected from last year's plants. So always good to save your own seed. I enjoy it. Feel like I'm ahead of the game. Now this little geranium needs to bounce back a bit. The alyssum around it kind of took over, so it's not looking its best, but it is a beautiful violet geranium. I'm trying to get you in a little close. It's violet with a tiny tinge of red in the middle, but it's a very pretty one when it's in better form. And then over here I have some very pathetic looking petunias, but I am proud of them because, well, first of all, I just planted this tiny one, so it doesn't look like much, but I did grow that one from seed. And I wasn't very careful with my seedlings, so I only actually ended up with these two, and this one is actually making a flower. So that's exciting. And then I was very happy that I grew so many ageratum. And this was all from saved seed from last year. They're very easy to save seed from. When their flowers turn brown, there's just a million little seeds on them. And I did pop a Dusty Miller cutting in there, which has maybe taken, but it's been rooting in the full sun. So I think the other cuttings I took of my Dusty Miller will do better. But I'm hoping that it fills out in the back of this planter, and that'll be a lovely combination with the silvery white Dusty Miller and the blue ageratum. And I'll show you, I've got these two topiaries. Something's going on. It could have been the heat wave burned off some of the new growth. We did have that awfully hot spell. So they do have a few brown spots, but those will just fall off and the plant will be just fine. But those have been, those are my twin topiary set up here. And they've been there for a long time. I do have some geraniums down here in a pot next to the deck, and these were some that I overwintered inside in the cardboard box. These are my deeper colored red geraniums, and this is an urn my son Charlie gave me. It's hard to see from this angle, but this deck overlooks my very lush garden of zinnias and elephant ears and canna lilies all across the back here. And this was haphazardly planted in a hurry before I had my back surgery. But I'm really enjoying the craziness and the lushness of this garden now, and I'm certainly enjoying having zinnias. I had a zinnia shortage last year due to rabbits, and unfortunately I think some foxes came through and did away with my beautiful rabbit colony. But as a result, I do have some better zinnias now. So that is what the deck overlooks. And let's swivel around this way. I have a walk over in the corner weighted down with a rock, and the birds actually love this bird bath because it's in the shade most of the day, and it doesn't get too hot. Over here, I just transplanted some of my geraniums I seed grew last year. I should say I grew from seed. And they were in my shady rustic garden, and I just popped them into this container here. So they're looking a little bedraggled, but I think they'll really appreciate getting a lot more sun. They were really in too shady of a location, and again, I really loved when I can perpetuate my seed-grown geraniums. Let's come over here. And I have a very busy corner over here. Lots of different plants in this corner. I'm growing some bullseye cherry geraniums, and that should be a dark pink when it flowers, but I just love how the foliage looks. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm very excited about those. And then I have some lantana here, which is wonderful for butterflies and hummingbirds. And I'm hoping that my cannas on the side of my deck here get tall again like they did last year. And hummingbirds love canna blooms. So I'm hoping between the lantana and the cannas we'll get some hummingbird visits. And then my tall plants here are, I believe these are cream sausage tomatoes, and they're not looking their best. They're not exactly a beautiful patio plant, but I had so many tomatoes, I just decided I'm gonna pop them in up here, and they're producing some tomatoes. I'll get a few tomatoes out of them, and then I'll rip them out when they look even worse. So we'll just have the dahlias down below and the basil. And I believe that's a red Reuben basil down there. And these were seed-grown dahlias, which are budding up. So I'll be excited to see what flowers they make. It looks like one of the seed-grown dahlias made a yellow flower, so that's nice and cheerful. And again, the same thing over here. We have some basil in there. And as you can see, I have some more ageratum. They are so easy to grow from seed, and I think that pop of blue is so pretty with other colors like red or pink. And this was a grocery store hanging pot of geraniums, which I planted into this pot. And I absolutely love that fuchsia pink color. And let me get around here. I'm just noticing that one of my seed-grown dahlias produced this lovely bloom. Of course, they're very small. The pot is very crowded with plants. So I don't know if they would normally be that small, but there's a lot of competition in here with the variety of plants I have packed in. And this year, guys, I really ignored plant spacing and planted everything really intensely. And then over here, I have some lavender cuttings, and they're starting to bloom. So I don't remember if I took those cuttings in the fall or really, really early this year. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But I'm pleased with this corner, and it's a pleasant tableau to look at when I'm out here. And then over here, I just have 3 pots, 2 particularly big ones down there, of the ageratum. And they're starting to throw up some blooms. And it looks like a little purslane is growing out there. So I guess the birds planted that, just like it did around my lemon tree. But I think that I love how this looks, actually. Let me back up. Look how pretty the blue ageratum looks with the blue chairs and the blue pot. Everything is blue. So I'm really loving that. But that covers the plants on my deck. And like I said, sitting at the table and planting up a few seedlings was an activity I was able to do. And I think every year I'm going to try to have as many plants as I can up here, because I really love how it looks. And I've enjoyed sitting out here, looking over the side of the deck and all along the plantings. As you can see, this corner is a lot shadier all the way into midday. So that's why the coleus are tucked back here. And I think they really appreciate this little microclimate. But thanks so much for watching, and I hope you're having fun with your container plants. And I will talk to you next time.